Welcome back to the MIRE pregame show. We're getting set for boys basketball tonight against Foundations Collegiate Academy. Joined by a couple of Montgomery seniors here. We'll hit you guys one at a time because sadly I just don't have the technology to make this work for everybody at one time. Joe Elicone and Kyle Howard. Joe, what's going on, man?
Not much. How you doing?
Doing all right. Doing all right. So before we get into what's happening this year, I want to take you to take me back to the beginnings of last year for you personally. You, I would say, did things the old school way as they relate in athletics. You cut your teeth at the sub-varsity level, had a lot of success. What were your expectations for yourself going into last year?
Yeah, so it really started with my sophomore year, and I was kind of getting a lot of minutes in the off season, and then as the real season came around, I just wasn't doing the same thing, and I started to go back to JV, and that really helped me develop as a player. So then my junior year comes around, and I kind of have my role, and I struggled again to start the beginning of the season, but I kind of found my rhythm and didn't put my head back from there. Just kept going.
Well, you had what I would call a pretty significant first week of the season last year. You know, was that Somerville or Franklin early on? That three-pointer.
That Franklin, yeah, was a three-pointer.
Three-pointer to tie the game, to send it to overtime after a frenetic comeback, and then you just kind of. At least this is how it felt from the outside, and that's why I'm interested in hearing how it felt from you. Like, you were like the spark off the bench that, I certainly didn't expect. What was it like when you're the one making that happen?
Well, I kind of really got my confidence when I played Phillipsburg, and we were down like 15, something like that, and I didn't play the first half because I had just come off an atrocious game at Watchung, so I kind of expected that, but Coach gave me a look, and I was able to go in and do what every Montgomery player's done and just get your chance and do the best you can. And I played really well against Phillipsburg. I carried it over to Franklin, and it just made me better from there.
There's something that Coach Grundy talks about all the time as it relates to players like you, and he always references Greg Tarka when he says this, there's guys that or at least in our society now, it feels like, well, if I don't get what I want so early and when I want it, well, I'm done with that. Knowing that that's a thing, nowadays, how do you have the strength and kind of mental fortitude to just put your head down and grind like that? And now, obviously, being such an integral part of what's happening now.
Well, I mean, that's just because, Coach we've been in the program since 8th grade, basically, and I never grew up in that if I'm not on varsity by sophomore year, I'm quitting. I've never grew up in that attitude, and this is what I've always known was the right thing to do, and it's a credit to him as a coach and as a person to teach us that.
Well, we like watching it happen for you. You guys have had a Save the Ridge game, this year, a tremendous amount of success early, both sides of the ball. I think maybe the defensive side gets lost a little bit because of the gaudy offensive numbers that you guys are putting up. But so far, I mean, we're so early into the season still, but so far, is this kind of living up to what you guys thought you could do?
I think we had a really slow start, even against Phillipsburg for the season. We had kind of higher expectations than that, but I mean, coming off two kind of blowout-ish wins, I think we're kind of finding our legs, and we're going to get some good tests coming up soon, so I'm excited for the upcoming schedule.
Pretty rough next week. We'll talk about that in a minute. As you now kind of find yourselves in this mix of, like, holy cow, this thing that we've been waiting for all these years now to be like the seniors and the leaders, and a lot of hype and a lot of expectations maybe. How are you guys as a group managing that?
Well, I just think it's easy for us because, I mean, we've been playing travel since 5th grade. It's nothing new to us. We've been playing high school basketball for 4 years and basketball in general for like 12. So, we're all captaining our own group. We're all friends. We can get on each other. It's not a big deal, and it's just fun to be around these guys.
That's the way it feels from the outside too, looking in, is that there's not like a lot of jealousy or, well, that should be me. I could have done that. That doesn't seem to be present. How do you make an atmosphere like that happen?
I mean, of course, everybody like wants to play. Everybody wants to be in the game. That's just obvious in any sport. But I think it's also how much we do in the off season, how much we prepare. We know each other better than anybody ever could, and there's a lot of humbleness that goes on in our team, and you know if somebody's better than you, you know the kind of rotation, you know the order that the team's in. So it's just everybody's a good person, and it's just how it's been working for 4 years.
Take us behind the curtain a little bit. What are some of the things that we don't get to see on the outside? You know, we get to watch the finished product on, on game days and things like that. What's practice like for you guys?
Practice is always up and down, and it's just how we're playing sometimes, like especially when we come off like a 3-day break. It's like practice is never great the next day, and coach gets after us all the time, and we know it, and we know we have to be better. So it's like, I don't know, I guess at the end of the day what I'm trying to say is that, we're a family and we're friends, and we've been that for our entire life, so it doesn't matter ups and downs, that we're just kind of staying together.
We're here with one of the Montgomery captains, Joe Elicone, as we're set for a rare Friday night home tilt here in the Cougar Den. Is that a cool thing for you guys? Just maybe we don't have school the next day?
Yeah, we love playing at home too. It's great. We need more Friday games.
See if we try to make that happen. I would say, what are the most fun things that you guys feel like you get to experience as you go through this season, which is by all accounts just grueling because of its length and intensity? What do you look forward to the most?
I love the competition. It's always great to blow a team out by 20, 49 points, whatever it is. But, when you have to rely on each other in the fourth quarter and you have to make these huge plays, it's just so rewarding at the end. Like, once you go through that adversity as a group of 12 guys, 11 seniors, it's really rewarding when you get to the other end of it.
It seems like you guys have had just a lot of experience in those situations. I feel like you could go through a season a lot of times and not really get into a ton of tense situations. I think when we look back, between last year and just so far this year, is that a place where you guys feel comfortable at this point based on the number of times it's happened to you?
I think so. I think we know. We always talk about belief a lot at practice. That's what Coach always preaches. And, as long as you believe, you can win. And we definitely believe that we can win in any game, in any situation. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is.
Well, Joe, it's a lot of fun watching you guys play. Hopefully this is the first of a couple of times we get to sit down and talk this year, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with another one of Montgomery's 11 seniors and one of their 6 captains, Kyle Howard, right after this in the MIRE pregame show. Basketball against Foundations Academy is coming up right after this. You're caught in the MIRE. It's the Montgomery Internet Radio Experience. All right, welcome back to the MIRE pregame show. Joining us is one of Montgomery's 6 senior captains, Kyle Howard. Kyle, man, what's going on?
Not much. Just getting ready for the game.
Awesome. Take us to winter break this year. At Bridgewater, you guys bounce back and forth between Bridgewater and home for the holiday tournament. A pretty amazing statistic that we were looking at, and talking to Coach and everything the last couple of days. Was it 44-2 in the second quarter for you guys over 2 games?
Yeah. We've had a lot of success in the second quarter. I think it's just because when we come out in the first quarter not playing our best, Coach gets on us. And I think our attitude just going into the second is we just need to be better. So then we go into the second, and so far I guess we've had a lot of success.
So that, I have a couple of questions based off of that. Is that a trend for a particular reason that you guys are not playing as well as you want to in the first quarters?
I don't really see a trend. I don't really think there's a trend there. I think it's just more of, we tend to find it pretty hard to come out, or not really find it hard, but we struggle to get a lot of energy coming into games for whatever reason. We're not really sure. We haven't figured it out yet. But once we get the energy going, that's a huge part of our success. Once we have that energy going, that's when we start to, go on the 44-2 run or the 20-0 run. So, yeah.
Referencing, and we know this, but to MIRE faithful out there, 22-0 run against Bridgewater, is that?
It was something like that. 22-0
in the outscoring Bridgewater in the second quarter, and 22-2 against Medford Tech in the second quarter. Any fake kind of pressure there to have another amazing second quarter as we come out?
I mean, we just really want to try to have an amazing game as a whole. It's great to have a 20-0 run in the second quarter, but if you can do that the entire game, then it's where you find a lot of success.
Let's talk about you specifically a little bit. You are, I would say, universally considered to be one of, if not the most versatile players on this team, and that says a lot given the fact that you have a 6'7" guy who can hit threes and, dunk with relative ease and does so often. A little bit of everything out of you. Coach Grundy's called you like the Draymond Green Swiss Army knife of the team. You happy with that moniker?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not so much. I don't really need to score 20, 25 points a game to feel like satisfied or to be proud of myself. All that matters for me is I do what I'm asked to do, and if I do that and we get a win, that's at the end of the day, that's really what matters.
Keeping kind of in same kind of concert with the versatility.
Yeah.
Basketball not the only sport you play.
Yeah.
Lacrosse player going to Gettysburg. One of the favorites, I would say, in Division III to make the Final Four again this year, which I bring that up because I think it speaks to the level of athlete that you are. What have you learned in basketball that's helped in lacrosse and lacrosse that's helped you in basketball?
Well, I definitely learned from Coach Grundy. It's like my mentality, because back when I was a freshman, sophomore, I really struggled with my head. Like, I get in my head all the time, and it would really affect how I play. But over the years, Coach Grundy's he's been able to help me with that to a point where I turn the ball over, something bad happens. It's not immediately I hate myself, like, oh, I'm going to do. So I'm so bad at all this stuff. It's more of I use that mindset and I turn it into energy to want to do better and perform better. And from learning that in basketball and from Coach Grundy, I was able to take that to the cross field, where I also would get in my head a lot. But so basically my mentality has just been able to translate from game to game. Now,
we alluded to it when we spoke to Joe earlier about a very difficult upcoming stretch here for you guys. You get a home crowd here on a Friday night, and that kind of vaults you into next week, where same deal. Couple home games, ends with Gill on Thursday, and it's like, well, if that's the big game, how do you guys keep the focus on games like this and on Tuesday to avoid that quote-unquote trap game?
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of got to go back to the Ridge game and the fact that we can't overlook any team we play against, even if the team seems to be, or who the games they've played or who they lost to. We can't go into the game with a mindset, oh, we're just going to roll over this team, let's just focus on the next game. We need to take every game, or we need to take every day we need to focus for the next game or the next practice or so-and-so. And Coach always has this thing where before every game he writes on the board, let's be 1-0 before the end of the game, or something like that. And it just kind of goes with the fact that we can't go into any game with the attitude that, oh, we're just going to stop over this team, let's just focus 2 weeks ahead on playing a Gale.
As you look back on that Ridge game, box score, play, whatever it is, do you look back on that and say, was that even us? When you think about that situation, what's what happened?
Well, obviously we went into the game, did not have our best game, and we struggled to find our way that game. We came into it, we were coming off all the expectation. Everyone's like, oh, we should just roll over this team, focus on other games. But we need to be able to find. Let me see how I can put this. That Ridge game, we got out of it early. When we went into halftime with only scoring 13 points, everyone was in their head. Everyone was thinking, oh, how is this happening? We're so much better than this. We're letting down all the fans, all this stuff. We weren't focusing on our game. We're focused on everything else but what we needed to be doing that game. So when it came out in the second half and we were like, oh, let's start. We're going to do it again. We're going to make a comeback, all this. And then as soon as it started going bad again, that's when we just flipped, and that's where we struggled with that's why I said we didn't really find our way that game.
Did that carry over into that first couple of minutes at Peaburg as well? Was there a thought there after one of those first couple of three-pointers didn't fall?
Yeah, I mean, definitely some of the guys' heads were
or just not Peaburg, I apologize to it. Who was yes,
Hightstown? Or
yeah, Hightstown, because it was the 8-0 run for Hightstown to start the game, and there seemed like be a little bit of a metaphorical hangover.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely some of the guys were why is this happening again? We're so much better than this team. But at the same time, from that Ridge game, we learned that we need to stay in the game. We can't check out after they score 8 points in a row. So then once we realized that, we were able to just kind of turn and then we went on a crazy run and blew them out. So I mean, definitely from that Ridge game, we definitely learned a lot about ourselves.
Is it almost, in terms of if you can think about the big picture of the season, that you may look back on that and go like, wow, that happening to us when it happened to us? Because the likelihood of any team going undefeated, right, is very small.
Mm-hmm.
That when that happened to us, maybe we learned a lesson at a good point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we needed that. I think we needed a little, I guess, like a wake-up call. Like we can't go into these games thinking that we're just going to roll over these teams because they're varsity basketball teams. They can hit shots. They could play good defense. So I definitely think it was at a good time for us.
Awesome. Well, gents, it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we'll do it again. All right, best of luck tonight. Foundations Academy tip-off here in the Cougar Den coming up in just a little while. Stick with us for the rest of the MIRE pregame show, and boys basketball is on tap. You are caught in the MIRE. It's the Montgomery Internet Radio Crew.